to this so much. I'm here with Britney Shawley and Tom Glod, and boy, I mean, the last time I saw you, things appeared to be so different. And part of my excitement about joining with you guys today is like, I remember it was probably a little over a year ago that I saw you guys in person in California, and I just remember this idea, a potentiality of parenthood coming in when I saw you,
Yeah.
and now here I am in a blink of an eye, here with you again, and there's an actualization of that and the characters. So I'm thrilled, and I feel so like a part of this, and certainly we are part of this, being in the mind and sharing this. So I'm thrilled to be with you to here today and hear about how this is all being used for the healing of the mind. And I'm also excited because you guys are in my film, and it seems like the film in some ways was used for our joining and for our healing. And I'm just amazed at how this relationship and many other relationships that have started off of just a connection on the internet, and then have seemed to blossom into what this is, which is really a love fest. So I just wanted to open it up and just see what flows out from you guys. How are you?
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks for having us, Craig. It's cool to be here. It's good to see you.
It is.
I think I'll let you start, babe.
Oh, all right. Well, that is pretty cool that you opened up with the fact that it was just an idea of maybe like having a baby. Because I honestly think, Craig, you were the very first person to know about it, and you were the very first person that we saw after we found out that we were pregnant. So it was just a blessing. It just happened that way, and it was absolutely beautiful, and I'll forever remember. And she's sleeping right here in my lap, but she'll pop up. Yeah, now it's totally actualized. Here we are, 6 weeks, having a little one join us, and it's pretty incredible, because our whole lives, Tom and I, have just been giving it completely and entirely to God. And whatever is most helpful for the whole sonship always seems to happen and unfold, and it seems like she's part of that helpful purpose. And so it's been quite incredible, just kind of like getting used to being a mother and just parents in general, and having this new being in our life all the time. But it's incredible. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. You always hear people talking about when you have a child, everything changes, and in a way that's true, but I find that things changed more externally, more rather than internally. Like externally, there's more things to do throughout the day. There's just these new activities, new responsibilities, and etc., etc. But inwardly, I mean, things haven't really changed. I mean, like when you live like in my own mind, when I wake up in the morning, I want to do what it is my function to do, and I don't want to do any more than that. And it's always been that way. So whether my function now includes cleaning some diapers and carrying a baby around, that's cool. But it doesn't change my inward experience of my day. So that's one thing I've noticed, that it's just externally things have changed, but internally they're very much the same.
Exactly. Well said, babe.
That's beautiful. As I edit the film, one of the things that you actually shared a lot on the film, but what ended up in the film, and you probably don't even remember what you guys said, do you?
No idea.
No.
Well, it was beautiful, just so you know. But one of the things that we talked about was guidance, and you guys shared a little bit about guidance.
Oh, guidance. Yes.
And I was, as I'm listening to Tom talk and share just now about how inwardly it doesn't change. I would make the assumption, and perhaps you can share a little bit more, I would make the assumption that still is in play, that the guidance and the feeling and the the nudges and the prompts and the joining between the two of you and the trust between the two of you is still the same, even though the activities may be different, as you said, Tom.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
I also like feel that there's this tendency, I guess, in human life, and if you identify as a human, to almost take on this role. Now I am a mother, and allow that to become your identity. And I find for me, and I was even just expressing this to Tom the other day, that even though I am a mother, and that is the role that has been given me at this time, that's not who I am. Right? For me, it's still the reminder of what is at the deepest core of each of us that is the same and shared by everyone, that is my identity. So ultimately, a soul, a child of God, is who I am. So living from that place, being a mother, doesn't really change anything. It just almost adds more joy because it adds another being in our life, and we get to now watch her grow and laugh all day long at her little adorableness. But it really doesn't change anything, because who I am is still a child of God first and foremost, and then now it's just being a mother is now my role, the function that's been given me. So I mean, it's a blessing, but it's not, it doesn't change anything, and I think that's beautiful. We're still in the changeless reality, and it's amazing.
Yeah. I've already told Ella that I'm her daddy, but not her father, and I feel like it's still God's responsibility to take care of all of us, including her, because that's the function God has as our Father, and I don't feel like suddenly it's like, oh, it's just on us to take care of her, and clearly it's not, because we receive a lot of help from the people around us and the universe around us. So it's just, she has not taken anything away. She has just added to it. Maybe like an hour of sleep a night. That's about it. But not even always. She's pretty awesome in that way too. So.
Beautiful. You may or may not remember this, but we did actually talk about parenting during our interview when we were shooting for the movie. Most of that conversation didn't end up in the movie, but the beauty of what I'm hearing right now is that you said a similar thing, or you shared a similar thing of this idea of God being the parent or the father, and really God, trusting in that, and to hear you talk about that now is sweet. And so to see that consistency, which again is the changeless, it's like God's, God doesn't change, nor does nor do the attributes and everything that goes along with what is true. So to hear you, now that you're in the role of a father and mother, to hear you say again, still, God's the Father, is a testament to the truth, to the unchanging.
Yeah.
So I have a question. So given that, is there anything within the mind that has changed or seemingly changed since taking on these roles? So, for example, was there something that you once either believed, thought you knew prior to being a parent, that now that you've played this role or playing this role, you've come to realize, wait, you know what? Maybe I believe differently, or maybe something got healed, or maybe there was a miracle or a shift in perception. Is there anything that you can think of that has unfolded in such a way?
That's a good question. Well, maybe. I think the first thing that comes to my mind is that, especially at times since I was pregnant, and I was nearing the end of my pregnancy, and she's about to come, and I'll kind of like, as we started, you were saying that I saw you in California, and that's where it was. So when Tom and I got pregnant, we were in California, and so when we came back to our homeland of Canada, it was almost like, sorry, she's here. When we got to our homeland of Canada, it was like we didn't really know where we were going to stay physically. We didn't know where our home base was going to be. So at first, as we always do, we traveled around, saw some friends, and then landed at my mom's house. And being here, we were here for about 3 to 4 weeks, and I started feeling that bug. I need a nest. I need a nest. I need a nest. Like, we need to figure out how we're going to get our own house. And so that, in a sense, started to be like a goal in my mind. Like, hey, Tom and I now need to do something to provide for ourselves so that we can live in a house and I can start nesting, right? And then a couple more weeks go by, and that didn't happen. And then a couple more weeks go by, and we try our own efforts of our human nature and try to make it done, and nothing happens. And I found almost like I lost my peace through that because I, had this goal that I needed to find a house and let that almost like interfere with my main function, which is ultimately salvation and the healing of my mind and the healing of all my relationships. And so, eventually what ended up happening when beautiful Ella was born and we ended up still being at my mother's house, I realized why we were here. Like, I was here because it is for the healing of the relationship with my mother. And having little Ella here has brought so much healing and so much joy and so much closeness in our relationship that I wouldn't have traded this for the world. I honestly would now, in hindsight, would never have wanted to have our own place. There was so much stuff that would have had to go along with that that just wouldn't have been able to take place. But I wouldn't have been able to sacrifice what's happened in this relationship with my mother. And I would never, ever, ever want to give it up for anything in the whole wide world. So again, I had to go through a change of mind of realizing that what I really want beyond anything else is God's will for me. And that's happiness and peace and healing in all my relationships. It's not the things of form at all. And that the nesting isn't a nesting in a place of form. It is literally a nesting back into the heart of God. And for me, that was like the greatest lesson in healing with her so far, is that I'm still home in my heart with God. And when I have love in Him, and I have chosen love in my relationships, everything's perfect, happy, and holy. And so it is. So, yeah.
I just want to make just a pause. I did lose some of that in there, Brittany, but I can feel the heart behind what you were saying. So I just want to repeat it, just so I make sure I felt into what was coming through, because there was a little bit of an echo that seemed a little bit stronger in the beginning. But what you were sharing, or what I was feeling into, is this idea that there was a thought that we knew what was best, which was getting our own place, and but being peace being the primary function, and the will of God being the decision. What unfolded is you've had the opportunity to be with your mom and really heal and work on whatever was to be healed in the relationship. So what I'm hearing or feeling is that the change of mind it goes back to this, I really didn't know my best interest. And so that is the miracle, that is the shift and change in mind, where you can see in hindsight with some distance on this, what God's will was all along and how it is part of the unfolding symphony that's happening right now.
Yes. Well said.
Okay, cool. Cool. I lost some words there, but I can feel it.
Yeah, I think just real quick, that's caused by the fact that we're in the same room. So the next time Britney talks, I'm going to mute my microphone, and that should eliminate the thing. Let me just answer that question too before we go on. For me, much of what Britney said was part of my experience too. The idea of wanting, the three of us when Ella comes to be able to have our own place and all that stuff. But I mean, I too have seen the purpose of us being here temporarily, and how great that has been in Brittany's relationship with her mom and my relationship with her as well, with her mom, I mean. But on a more personal note, the only thing I can think of as being the answer to that question was, prior to Ella arriving, we talked a lot about it and about parenting and how we wanted to approach it, and then there's the idea of sort of parenting the baby right from the earliest age and to help her. But when she got here, you know, we're only 6 weeks into it, so clearly we know everything about parenting already. But it seems like at this point, she is very much just responding to her physical needs, and so it is our job to respond to her physical needs, and there's no way around it. There's no, it just has to be done, and I think prior to it, the child getting here, it's like, okay, this is what we're gonna do when this happens, and this is what we're gonna do when this happens. No, you have to be in the moment, and you have to respond to her in the way that she needs. You can't, that can't be planned ahead of time. You can read parenting books, and sure, there's like tons of helpful hints, and you know, other people have experiences, and they tell you what they think, but all of that kind of goes out the window, and you kind of have to be there in the moment and listen to the guidance that says this is what the child needs now, and you have to respond to that. That's it. That's all you can do. You can't do it outside of the present moment. So that's been just another way of practicing listening to guidance. Is like, this baby is crying, and you gotta know why. You gotta learn to listen why, and learn how to respond to it to help her. So that's been cool.
Beautiful. Yeah, you know, listening to you both like share about, you know, Brittany, you were sharing about the whole apartment situation or the living situation, and then Tom, listening to you share about the level of presence it feels like that you have or share to enable it to respond to those needs. I was just thinking about my own experience, and you know, I think right now being in Hawaii, being, and I think I hear a need already. There's she laughing with us or asking for something.
There she waves at everybody.
Hi, Ella.
Wow.
Is she awake? Oh.
First Google Hangout.
Yay.
First Google Hangout.
This is Uncle Craig.
Ah.
You're very bright over there, honey.
I know, I'm by the window.
Maybe I should scooch
Is
over
she-
and close the blinds.
They are closed.
I know, but close them better. But anyways, okay.
Sorry, Craig.
No, it's beautiful. Let's talk about it. So now having, because you just talking about you know, the needs of the moment, and you're being told. So what is that like? Because I would imagine right now in my experience, I don't have anything that calls me like that. Right?
Yeah.
So you're having an experience more so than I am, at least, where, well, my closest thing would be my animals.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're you know, I mean, I just put a bowl of food out and they're happy, so it's not like, it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that, because that's 24 hours, 24/7.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit how that's being used for healing and mind training.
I think Brittany can answer this a little better than I can.
Alright.
She's the main caregiver right now, because you know, she has more of what Ella needs on a daily basis, clearly. So I'll let you answer that one.
Okay. It's interesting because prior to her being here, I guess I had all the time in the day to kind of do whatever came up, you know, and it was like whatever I was inspired to do, it would happen. But now it's like, so I think that I'm inspired to do this, and this is what I'm doing, and then Ella cries, or she wants something, or she just wants to play, or she's bored, or she pooed, or whatever. And I find that, you know, I just have to let whatever it is that I think that I'm doing go and be fully and completely and entirely present with her. And I guess that is all part of the learning of their, like, my needs are not separate from her needs. right? That when she needs something, I need something, you know, and it's to tend to her, you know. So it's, I think, like another practice of letting go of everything that is seemingly separate and anything that is seemingly individual and personal and for me alone. It's now us, you know. It's a complete we. It is a complete we, and so now it is, you know, putting her first. You know, I can't put Brittany first anymore and start the day with yoga and take my time with my coffee and like make juice when I want and like do all these things. It's like, no, I thought I was going to have juice today. Not going to happen. I don't have that time to like prep it all up, you know, whereas I wouldn't go a day without it before. And so it's literally, you have to flow with the day. There's no specific plan. I mean, like even with this hangout, like this morning, we had a cranky morning. We had a very cranky morning. And in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, like I hope she's not cranky for Craig's talk and blah, blah, blah. And like I'm having these thoughts pop up. And then I'm like, you know what? Like it doesn't even matter. Like I mentioned she was going to be here. She can't not be here because again, it's like we're a we. We're completely connected. I can't go anywhere without her. And it's a beautiful thing. It's literally putting every single like spiritual principle into everyday continual practice, and having no choice, you know. And it is like kind of like what Tom said. It's learning her communication, because her communication right now is crying. And so it's basically learning the different cries, what they're for, what she needs at any given time, and supplying that need to the best of my ability. So it's definitely a training ground, but it could be a very, very, very happy one. So yeah, pretty much, I think that was the answer to your question for the most part.
Yeah, and as you're sharing, I can feel like the.
She's giving us a show now. Okay.
Go ahead, Craig.
No, it's like I was just sharing that I can see how this is so used for the undoing. Like I'm hearing you, you know, and boy, like yeah, like it's right there in your face. It's like, okay, these thoughts you have about what you think you need to do, or what is going to satisfy the mother, you know, the mother character, to lay that down and really follow what's being guided. And this idea that you don't see the separation, and so you're responding to you, which is, you know, which is everything. And it's beautiful. It's like, wow, I can see how, I mean, really, that is not just applicable to one's child, although it is obviously highlighted or magnified when one has a child, I would imagine. I don't have kids. But really, you take this principle, this idea, and you apply it to every seeming body you come into contact with. This is you, and these are the needs. All of a sudden, you don't have to actually be the parent, or you don't have to be in the role of parent to go through this training. You can apply what you're sharing really to everybody and everything when we feel like someone is either making a demand or asking for something, or we're being challenged with the thoughts and not wanting to do something, or whatever it is. It just so happens to be that the role of parenting, it feels like, again, I'm not a parent, seems to like magnify it. And even as you're sharing, Brittany, like I have the questions in my mind, you know, am I, you know, wow, like am I that talk about a leap, you know, it's like, would I be willing, not that I'm gonna have kids, I don't have any plans, but again, who knows, a stock might drop something overnight and I find it at the front door. But in my mind, I don't think that that's gonna happen. So I often ask, I'm like, wow, I don't know if I could ever do that, or, you know, yeah. I mean, I don't want to say too much about it, but it just, certainly the question and the fear, I think that's really what it is, like, you know, could I?
You know, there's, I'll say a couple of things in regards to that, how it's being used as mind training. My entire life, up until maybe just before I met Britney, I never ever wanted to have kids. my friends would always make fun of me, and then I'd be like, Tom, one day you're gonna meet a girl that lives as you do, and then you'll get married and you'll have kids. And I was like, yeah, whatever, And it was because, just like you say, I didn't know if I could do it. And clearly at the time I was thinking of it in terms of I didn't know if I could do it. And I couldn't do it. If I was left to my own wisdom, my own devices, some egoic identity, I couldn't do it. I'd be a disaster. And what makes it all possible is is just the love of God, the guidance that we receive, and like having a true partnership where you're a team and you're doing it together, and not one of you is doing it yourself. So and that's the other thing. Like in my relationship with Brittany, we don't have as much time now to spend as a couple in our walks, in our chilling time and all that stuff. We just don't have that time because she takes up so much of it. Uh, and I bet that if either of us were listening to our egos and looking at this from a personal standpoint, there would be a sense of loss. Oh, things aren't like they used to be. We don't have much time together. And right away, the child, in the hands of the ego, is used to divide. And like we haven't really experienced any such bullshit just yet. Pardon my French, sorry. Together since she's been here. But I mean, I've seen this in other relationships where a child and the presence of a child and the need to take care of a child in the ego's hands is used to divide the parents. And so part of the mind training going forward for the rest of the time that we are in this position as her primary caregivers, we have to be vigilant to not allow the ego to use this relationship to divide another relationship. You know what I mean? Because that's what the ego does. It like pins one relationship against another, and then this one against this one against this one, and before you know it, it's all in disarray, and everybody's in conflict, and there's nothing shared, nothing joined. And we're not really rookies at this, so I mean, we've remained mindful of what it is our task, and that's to perceive a common will and a common need for us all. So, that's going to continue to be the case for us going forward.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I can. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, you were just talking about those thoughts, those ego thoughts, and the idea of division, and it just keeps coming back to what you both keep sharing, this idea of the wholeness and the complete trust that everything is being used and everything is happening for a purpose that is God's will, that's aligned with God. So if that means looking at the thoughts that come up when there isn't that Britney time or there isn't that couple time, then what is that about? This idea, oh my God, to miss is to, the Course talks about that the separation involves a process of which we think we can render ourselves different than what we are. So if I'm missing, then I must be rendering myself something different than perfect.
Yeah. It's sacrifice, right? It's a sense of sacrifice, and that's the truth about these relationships. That when they're perceived correctly, there is no sacrifice. There's only gain, and I really feel that in Ella, she has only added to us as a whole. Why? What's so funny, honey?
I hear sounds.
Yeah, she is.
I'm on mute.
Yeah, she makes like these animal sounds, dinosaurs, ducks, and you know, if they had been filming Jurassic Park prior to her coming, we could have made a ton of money because she could have done all the dinosaurs. Would have saved them a ton. But anyways, it's so funny. It's so funny. Just these little things that get experienced throughout the day with her. They make us laugh big time. So yeah, and that's case in point. She's only added to our enjoyment of life here. So
Yeah. Funny how the ego thoughts can distort all of that. You know, it's like there's a recognition of the simplicity of the joy. Like just something so simple can bring about just such an awareness of joy. And then sometimes the thoughts could, if we again render ourselves different than what God would have us be, we could get lost with the story. It's funny. The idea of missing and the idea of even being alone has actually come to mind recently. So I've been kind of contemplating and praying on that, and that's what keeps coming up, this idea of rendering ourselves different than what we are.
yeah.
And so I would also imagine that having Ella also would bring in also a lot of companions.
Oh boy, here we go. We're having some soil delivered, so there might be a little noise the next couple of seconds. There's some dogs. And... All right. But no one's knocking at the door. Okay. All right, I think it's good. Yeah, like she has received such a awesome welcoming from the online community. Every time we post a picture of her, it's just, people welcome her again and again, and it's really great to see. And there is, we make fun of this thing here because she is so cute and adorable in her sort of newness and physicality, and the newness of that physicality. It really makes up for like anything else that can be less than cute in this experience. Like a crying fit that lasts for a bunch of time. And it's just like the other thing that I've been noticing is just okay there Ozzy. It's just because she is so very physical right now, and her physicality is so cute and enjoyable. I find myself being reminded all the time that she is not a little wee body. She is not her physicality, and her mind is as powerful as it's ever going to be. Her physicality is one thing, her reality is another. And she will never be more powerful and more whole than she is right now. And I'm often reminded of that fact because it's easy to get lost in the cuteness and the smallness and that part of it. So I don't know if that answered that question or whatever, but
I don't even know what the question was, but I completely trust.
Yeah.
The question. Okay, what I was asking, and I think you did answer it, was the support. Because really, what I was asking is what's the attention like?
Ozzy, not my dog.
So it was a question about the attention, about having a child. that brings attention and totally brings support and mighty companions. And so I would imagine that is an experience also, an extension of love and certainly a witness
Absolutely.
to support.
It's been well, it's been grand. The welcoming she's received, like I said. So um, yeah, it's definitely been there, and I would imagine that it's just gonna increase as she increases in her participation in whatever's going on. So.
Right, and I just want to come back to what you said, because what you said is actually pretty profound about the cuteness. So you talked a little about the cuteness, and I don't want to. There's no judgment on it, and there's no making it wrong, because we all have fun with this idea of cuteness, whether it be a baby, whether it be in my case animals, whether it be cartoons. It doesn't really matter. But again, it goes back to rendering her something different than what she is.
Yeah.
So it's like cuteness, as cute as the word is, in reality is very narrow and limited relative to the truth of what she is and what we are.
Exactly. And it's also a comparative thing. I mean, she is a very cute baby, but there's also some not cute babies out there. And so, what does that mean? You know, like it doesn't mean anything. It's enjoyable, and all you can do is sort of enjoy it as what it is, and not have it be something else, something that makes her special or different or better or worse. Like, none of that really applies. It's the fact is, babies are cute, and that's just what it is. But it's clear, that that's not who she is. And then the Holy Spirit does not fail to remind us of that.
I wanted to add here too about this idea of cuteness, right? And even in just regular relationships, right, that we have. I know even for me, growing up, my first thing was looking for a cute guy. He's got to be a cute guy that I look good with, and got to meet that mold and fit that figure and blah blah blah, like the idol identity of what you think you want, right? And it's the same thing that when you mistake someone else as their cute body, then you are not seeing them as who they really are. Right? And the same thing goes for Ella. Like, when we're stuck on seeing her cute body, we're not seeing her as she really is. So it really is a constant everyday application of vision, having to constantly be reminded that even though we're like, oh my God, she's the cutest thing ever, my heart's melting like ridiculously much. It's like that's not where the true joy comes from. That's not where the true anything comes from. So I think if we can see that and learn that from little babies, it can be applied to every and all relationships all the time, allowing us to see past the body in anyone and onto the light, onto the Christ of who we are. I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, as you were sharing, it brought up memories of myself. I mean, that whole idea of qualifying or interpreting others, and I remember when I was dating, just here I am wanting really more than anything else. I wanted the content. Really, that's what we all want in relationships, is really the content. And then yet the mind is its attention is on the form. And with all the attention on the form, missing out on the content.
Yeah.
You gonna say, Tom?
What was I gonna say? Don't remember. I was gonna add something else to that, but it flew out of my head, so it's gone. Oh yeah, I was gonna say that prior to her being here, we always talked about the purpose with which she was coming, and that purpose, and not so much the form of what precisely she was gonna do or not do, and etc. Just the content of her purpose, and that purpose never involved our entertainment. That purpose never involved supplying something for Britney and I. Like, it was never part of the equation, and I feel like that's a real benefit that I have in my mind, is that I never saw that a baby would give me something that I don't have. So, and I know that that's not, the case for a lot of people at this time. There's always this sort of specialness applied to having children and all that. But I mean, I never experienced it as a personal thing, and I suspect that that has really helped in keeping my head clear on what the goal is as a parent. The goal of a parent is not to get something from the child.
Whether that be love or otherwise.
Whether that be love or otherwise. It's not what this is about. I feel like the role of a parent is to help the child to hear God's voice, and that voice will teach the child what its life is and what its goal is and what its purpose is. And it's our task as parents to demonstrate the act of listening to guidance, the act of prayer, in hopes that the child will turn inward as well and learn to hear the voice for God. Like, I see no other role of a parent here. It just, no other purpose makes any sense to me in this regard. So that's what I was going to add. Thank you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And listening to you share that, again, you probably don't remember this, but in the movie, one of the things you talked about was that most of the suffering that you had experienced was because of gathering for yourself. That's what you were sharing about, how it was all about for me, for me, for me.
Yeah.
So, that in some ways it seems easier to understand that when you're thinking in terms of, certainly if you're chasing money or if you're chasing objects, I think most people would agree and understand, that'll never bring happiness, and certainly we can understand how that can seemingly create suffering in a way that, if you're chasing it or if you're making investments. But now we're going deeper, because it's so subtle, this idea of getting for myself in not only in relationships, but having a child. I mean, the world's view would actually not see that or acknowledge that, this idea. Yet it feels like that is what can happen in having a child, is this idea of getting something, the love, even the idea that I'm doing something as a parent, the role. There's an unconscious getting in being a parent. I put my kid through school. I taught them. Then look at them. He plays football just like his dad. Or so there's a lot of, not that there's anything wrong with that, because I don't want to give the impression that there's judgment on that. All I'm saying is, without awareness, we can get lost of what's really true.
Exactly.
So to hear you talk about that at that depth is quite beautiful.
Yeah, it goes back to the idea of who is the teacher, who's in charge of the relationship in my mind. If it's the ego, then every relationship is a way of getting something. And if it's God, the Holy Spirit, the inner guide, whatever you call it, then the relationship becomes more about giving and about sharing what belongs to everyone. So I've before she got here, we often talked about, how is this gonna be? Like, how do you teach a child to pray? How do you teach a child that they have a voice in their mind that speaks to them of God? You know, and I mean, we don't have the answer to this yet, but I'm really looking forward uh, to experiencing what that's like, what that process is like. Um, but you know, there's no way to even know at this point. So it's gonna be interesting to find out.
Yeah, you know, what comes to mind right now is you. When I talked to you also last, you had shared a little bit about flying by the seat of your pants.
Yeah, still flying.
That's what I wanted to hear is share a little bit about you know, you flying by the seat of pants. So I mean, I would imagine, again, I don't know this, but having a child, that the idea and the trust in flying by the seat of pants, is that at all, has the thought come up, oh my God, you know, like, wow, this is a new level of trust to be able to fly by the seat of pants with a newborn?
Well, like for me, the answer is no. Like it hasn't really changed, but because I think it's it's because I don't know any other way. Like I I know that if that were to change, then everything would become lesser, not more, but lesser. There's no way that I, as an individual being here, Tom Glod and Britney together, can plan or arrange for how things should be better than the universe itself. Like, that to me is insane, with or without a child. I can't, I don't know another way. So the answer to your question is no, it hasn't changed. There's no, it hurts to think about living in a different way, even though she's here. So.
I want to answer that too, because my mind tried, you know, at the beginning, like I was sharing, you know, many attempts to me to find this house, but it never actually, you know, came to anything. I mean, we did a few things of what we thought that we could do to make some sort of shift happen, but you know, we really realized like this isn't up to us. Like we can't plan it, we can't make it happen, we can't now take back the lead when we've given it all to God. Like it doesn't work that way. So I think that's in a sense why we're still here at my mother's. And we're still trusting explicitly that the instant that we're ready to move forward and the next step is supposed to happen, it will happen, and we will be told exactly what to do, and the way will be paved with bright, shining lights of joy for us to walk down. You know, and we're already receiving, you know, the nudges and the promises and the knowings and the guidance and the signs that show that that's happening really, really soon. So it's getting us really, really excited. But the actual putting it into movement and motion is completely up to God, you know, and I will forever just keep my mind focused on listening to his voice and trusting his plan is far greater than I could ever possibly try to do on my own. And to constantly remember that I'm a child of God and he will always take care of us like he always has. And Elle's a child of God, and therefore he's going to take care of her because he knows she's here. It's not like he doesn't know she's here. You know, so I can include her in it. I can include her in that trust and that patience and his plan ultimately. So it's a beautiful thing. I feel like, I mean, at the beginning there were spots and worries, but all of those have completely subsided and turned around, and they didn't really match up to much really. They arose and then they left, and so now here we are. And she just puked all over herself.
You know, what you're sharing what you're sharing is actually quite beautiful, because what I'm hearing is, you know, this that we're talking about really, this mind training or unwinding our mind back to what's true. There's really no role that can stop us. In other words, you know, if there's anybody who's listening or watching this who has thoughts that, oh, or if I know yeah, if there's anybody, or if there's ever a thought that I can't listen to God because I have this role or responsibility that's in and of the world, that is itself an ego block. That is a thought, and what I'm hearing is that although the thoughts seem to have appeared, that's not a reality. And so, and Tom, you were sharing, because the question was, with this new responsibility, or with this baby in the world, is there, a sense of, oh, I can't live this, or is there a fear of, I can't live this flying by the seat of my pants life? And you had shared so eloquently that you didn't know another way. So the question was, is there fear? But you're right, because that would compromise the power of God. That would compromise or indicate that somehow that there isn't wholeness to what's happening. So it's beautiful to hear you share that, and really that's what I interpret that as, really sharing the miracle, is sharing the reality and demonstrating that for all of us, regardless if our role is parenting, even the role of being a child and taking care of a parent. That doesn't stop you from living, in alignment and listening to God. If we're caring for animals, if we're caring for, sometimes, I don't have a child, but certainly this idea of, taking care of the ranch, and, that the responsibilities that come along with that doesn't matter. The job doesn't matter. If you're running a big company, that doesn't matter. There's nothing in the world that can come close to the reality of what's happening already. To your point, Brittany, it's like, why are we even challenging the universe? It's taking care of us anyway. So why even challenge that? So I think that's quite beautiful to hear, and I'm not surprised by the answer. So thank you for sharing. I also, because this is going really fast, this time together, I want to make sure that I ask a question and we do a little sharing about the because when we had met last, that was in mind, and I'm just curious if there are any updates that you can share a little bit about the project that you guys have been working on. Let me make sure that you guys are. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, the UMP is a software program. stands for Universal Mediation Program, and it's something we've been working on for over 800 days now. So we are. The update that I have is that we are very, very close to being able to release it. I don't want to put a date on it or a time on it, but very, very close. So if anybody's interested to find out more and to sign up to be notified when it's released, you can go to www.imump.com, and it's UMP. So there you can sign up for a notification when the beta version comes out, and yeah, there's gonna be a launch of this thing very soon. So we're very excited about it because well, it's been a long road. It's been a lot of efforts and a lot of time put into it. So we're very excited just to share it and to give it to the world. So yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, and I just feel to ask if you can just give me, like, for someone who's never even heard of the if you can give me the two-minute, just kind of, what is it?
The elevator pitch.
Yeah.
Well, the is a computer program that goes onto your computer, your Windows, Mac, or Linux machine, and it's used as a communication platform for conflict resolution and conflict prevention, and also cooperation. So it's if anybody's familiar with the role of a mediator, it's a a mediator in the form of a computer program. So there is no such thing out there in the world right now, so it's brand new. No one's done it before. It's never existed. So we're very excited to release it and to see what good it will do in the lives of people. And the UMP will be free for all non-commercial applications. So for families, individuals, couples, schools, it's free, and it's universally applicable to any situation, any conflict, any cooperative venture. And again, it's used as a communication platform to help people to agree on what they want and on how they wish to experience their relationship and what they're doing. So it's entirely unbiased because it's, you know, it doesn't give you advice on anything. It doesn't do anything except act as a platform for you to enter your thoughts, your mind, your perspective, and then for other people to do the same, and then the overlaps everything together, and you get to see how everything fits together, where you agree, where you disagree, where you have common ground, where you don't, and etc., etc. So again, for more information, you can go to www.imump.com. And if we can actually put a link on it, on the things for this video, that'd be cool too.
Awesome.
On the description.
Awesome.
So.
Beautiful.
All right.
Yep. Well, thank you guys for sharing. I'll just end it with a plug for the movie, Course in Miracles, Enlightenment or Bust. You can visit the website, acimdocumentary.com. Tom and Britney were so gracious in the movie, and a lot of their messages, you actually heard it right here. It's still the same. It doesn't change. I love you guys so freaking much. I want to see you in Toronto. I would love to see you guys in Toronto. Like with everything, and you guys, I know, will hear this, is, you know, I have no clue how the movie tour will unfold. So there are no details. We have a crowdfunding campaign going on right now, which will help support the tour. And if it's all aligned, I will see you guys in Toronto. And boy, I look forward to that.
All right.
So, okay.
Thank you guys for sharing your time with me, and bye, Ella. I love you too,
and thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you, Craig. This is wonderful. I love you, and I can't wait to see you again.
Love you, brother. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.